Jess, thanks. You know, this pandemic really taking a toll on our youth. A study out earlier this month by Columbia University suggests babies born in the last 2 years are actually scoring lower on developmental screening tests. Now, joining ABC7 this morning, the co-founders of Family Initiative. Always love seeing you guys. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, so you guys, tell me a little bit more about this study and why our children are being affected this way.
So it's really interesting, I think, for Anjali and I and the rest of our team. You know, this really plays out every day, right? We're seeing this a lot. And so clearly what the study's looking at is the last 2 years for babies, and we're seeing across the board developmentally, they're scoring lower, right, than children from the same hospital that were born before the pandemic. So we're seeing this play out quite a bit. And so for developmental screenings, right, so with checklists that we're looking at to basically check on, you know, language, motor development, social skills, all of those kinds of things that we're looking at, kind of hallmark pieces for kids. And the study shows us there's been a real impact.
So, Anjali, are we seeing that here in Southwest Florida as well?
Yeah, so at Family Initiative, we do developmental screenings the third Saturday of every month. And probably over the last 6 to 8 months, we noticed this trend where we're like, we're seeing it's only children, like the firstborn child or only child in that age range who was born since the pandemic. And it caught our attention because it was every child was scoring a little bit lower than would be typical. And these screenings are to assess, should parents do something further or what? And it's mild, but there's definitely across the board, we're seeing across Southwest Florida with the families that we're seeing each month, that the same trend that the Columbia study found.
This seems lightly concerning, to say the least. Why exactly do you guys feel like the pandemic is affecting the children like this?
Yeah, and so I think one thing that jumps out to us in the study, which I think is important to point out, so this is not from material exposure for parents, to moms with COVID, right? So we see that clearly, you know, I think a lot of this is tied to stress for moms, right? And I think the biggest thing that we talk a lot with the families that we're seeing out is really engagement, right? A lot more mom and dad talking, engaging and playing, really being focused intentionally with their kids to do that, recognizing clearly, you know, kids are behind.
Yeah, and we know, you know, before the pandemic, we're able to go out to the park, kids were having play dates, all those sorts of things, which a lot of families have been very hesitant to do, especially with those young infants and toddlers, haven't had that same exposure. And we know how important that is to a child's overall development to have those experiences. So like David said, I think encouraging as much as you can within your own home and with your family is really going to help those kids and help those families.
Obviously, that social aspect of it is very important, especially when they're young. But, you know, what can folks do other than that engagement at home to really encourage that, you know, safely, of course?
Yeah, I just think in the end, and we talk with folks a lot about, is play is key. Play is everything. Playful engagement in everything we do with kids helps them develop it in so many different ways. And so it's been good. We've had some moms and dads out in the building recently. And I just think it's interesting, not everybody has that playful engagement skill. So I really encourage parents to kind of find that inner child within them, right? And play with them a lot, because all of those domains are hit by that.
Yeah, get down on the floor and be silly and have fun.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We've actually got some information there. Oh, they left. Well, we'll have it up on our website. There it is. So if you guys need any more, you guys have more tips and help there on your website as well. They can give you guys a call. So if you guys ever need anything, right, they can give you guys a call?
Absolutely. The website's got some great trainings and videos on there. So some of the stuff we're talking about today, families can go there and watch the videos and get some of those tips.
Yeah, or if families have concerns right now, we do this every third Saturday of the month, so we're there. You know, just call us, make an appointment. We'd be happy to reach out to folks individually and help them out too.
Fabulous. Thank you guys so much again for coming. You're going to stick around for our 7 o'clock hour.
Yes, ma'am.
Good, because I got more questions.
I like it.
6:19 is the time. We're going to be right back after this. All right, thanks, Jess. This pandemic really taking a toll on our youth. In fact, a study out earlier this month by Columbia University suggests babies born in the last 2 years are actually scoring lower on developmental screening tests. And joining us here on ABC7 in the morning are the co-founders of Family Initiative. Good morning, you guys. Thanks again for coming.
Our pleasure.
Good morning.
I mean,
Great to be here.
The least we could do was like ply you guys with coffee.
Yes,
you know,
I
love it.
so early.
Loading up.
Load it up.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about this study and why the pandemic is affecting our young ones like this.
Yep. So I think what's really interesting about the study, and obviously we're seeing this, and I think it's a big piece for us in the study the last 2 years, right? So looking at babies, and basically as we track those children for those 2 years, seeing that they're behind across the board developmentally, and we compared those kids to kids born in the same hospital previous. We really begin to see a difference. We see the impact that the pandemic is taking. And so the developmental screens we're doing, kind of checklists, right? They're looking at different milestones, kind of stages and ages of kids. And we begin to see, right? We're looking at kids being behind socially, kids being behind language or motor skills. So kind of those basic things we're looking for in young kids.
So we are seeing this here in Southwest Florida, not just, in other states.
Absolutely. So at Family Initiative, every third Saturday of the month, we do free developmental screenings. And it's interesting because what got us looking at this is we started to see this trend probably mid last year, and we're like, there's something going on here when we have parents who have one child, it's usually their only child, and they're coming in, they're just scoring slightly lower, where it's not necessarily enough to say they are developmentally delayed or they should seek further assessment, but we're definitely seeing a delay across the board in terms of their socialization and their language and their play skills and all those things that we would expect for kids at about 2 years of age. They're just a little bit behind. And that's across Southwest Florida, and this is a trend we've been seeing probably since last summer. We've noticed it a lot more, and it's every month we're seeing this with families now.
It's a bit of a random question, but what all does a developmental screening consist of?
So there's a variety of different developmental screenings. Most of them that you can do, and you can find these online, they look at, like David said earlier, some of those developmental milestones. So in terms of language development where kids, in terms of their social skills, in terms of their motor skills. So like sitting up, crawling, holding a spoon, those sorts of things. So they're really looking at just broadly where are our kids falling, and is it within what's typical or what we would expect for a child that age.
I think it might be surprising to those of us who maybe don't have kids, because you're spending so much time, especially in the early days of the pandemic, you're spending so much time with your children. I would have thought that meant, that they would be almost ahead of the game, but that's not the case. Why is that?
Yeah, so I think it's an interesting study. So one, obviously this is not because of exposure to COVID, right? So I think that's a clear thing. The number one catalyst that's pointed out in the study is stress, right? So moms and dads are stressed out, and I think that's clearly taken a huge toll on a lot of our families. And again, I just think that the isolation of, not being around other kids, not being able to do all the age typical things that, little kids are usually doing. And then that burden falls back on moms and dads. And, God bless the families that come out, because you can tell, they identify that they're behind. And so, moms and dads are concerned trying to get them in. But again, I just think the big thing for us is, engage with your kids. The more moms and dads are playing with them, having fun with them, it's addressing a lot of those developmental areas that we're looking at.
It actually kind of leads me to my next thing. Do you guys have a couple of tips before we leave?
Yeah. I know for us, and it's been good because we've had a couple of parents come out and we actually get down on the floor in the center and kind of model for them those kind of those playful strategies, right, that they should be using. Because again, I just think a lot of us are preoccupied.
Yeah.
Sure.
We got a lot going on. I know a lot of folks are working from home remotely, trying to balance all of that. So I think that playful engagement and kind of getting on the floor with them is key.
Absolutely, and that's a lot of the things we talk about is, if you feel our life, we're on Zoom 24/7. So I think breaking away from that, getting on the floor, being silly, having fun, and talking to your kids, even when they're really young. Our kids learn a lot through that language and repetition. So doing that, being engaging and funny, we definitely model how to act a little bit silly with the kids, and it's fun for us as much as it is for the kids, and it's teaching them and helping them learn.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much again for coming in this morning. You guys can visit the Family Initiative website for more of those tips and tricks to help out with your family. 7:21 is the time. We're going to be right back after this.